Hey, welcome to Watch Candy. I am really glad that you're here because today I want to do justice for something in the watch community that has gone on for too long. But before I get into that, let me give you some backstory. So a few months ago, I was, like a lot of us do, looking online, perusing through different watches, particularly vintage watches. I came across some watches that piqued my interest in a certain way. Those watches were vintage Gucci watches. And the reason they piqued my interest was because they were absolutely beautiful. And not only were they watches that I liked the designs of, but I feel like they're watches that a lot of people in the watch community would be all over. But for some reason, no one's talking about it. I haven't heard anyone mention anything about these vintage Gucci watches. I assume everyone's writing them off immediately just because they're from a fashion house, and fashion houses are notorious for having really bad watches. But today I wanted to talk and make more people aware of these watches that are actually quite beautiful. So let's dive right in and I will show you the watches that I'm talking about. So Gucci is a household name when it comes to fashion icons. They're many people's first exposure into learning about these luxury fashion brands, and the Gucci name is well respected all over the world. The brand started in 1921, but it took them almost 50 years to start making watches in 1972. And one thing that I find really appealing about vintage Gucci watches is that more often than not, the difference between the male and female watches is little other than size. Now, the current catalog of Gucci watches definitely leaves a lot to be desired. There's very little originality. Even in the renders on the website, the watches just feel cheap. And because of their current catalog, a lot of people miss the opportunity of the vintage side and don't feel any inspiration to go looking for Gucci watches from years past. After scanning their current catalog, let's turn things back a few decades and look at the first pick of the day, the 3000M or the 3000L. And the only distinction between the 3000M and L is the men's and ladies version. There's just a difference in size. And the key design features of this 3000L that I would really like to talk about is one, the lack of any type of markings on the dial other than the logo. We've seen all sorts of dials like this before, anywhere from Cartier to Movado. Another key design feature is this Roman numeral bezel, which kind of fills in those hour markings that are missing on the dial. So you get the best of both worlds. You get a minimal dial and an interesting bezel. And the last key feature of these watches I want to mention are the very, very slim lugs. It's a very dressy piece. It's very classic. Everything about this watch just comes together in a very well executed unisex dress watch style. Jumping into the next watch of note, we have the 9000 series. And this watch is really interesting because it is that integrated bracelet take from Gucci. First, I want to highlight the bracelet, which uses a lot of very small links, creating a highly textured and detailed overall presentation. And yeah, two-tone is not for everyone. It really isn't for me. I don't do two-tone very often. I haven't really ever felt drawn to two-tone, but the way this watch has executed its two-tone design, I find really cool. You have a few different dial colors as well to choose from, anywhere from white to champagne to a really interesting gray sandy texture. I'm also a big fan of the way they've done the date window with this high polished concave aperture. It is also very thin, which is cool. So it reminds me a little bit of some vintage APs and Piagets, which I find really cool. Last is the 2000 series. So these are really interesting because there's a lot more variety. But jumping right into the basic models, you'll notice again a very minimal dial. You do get different variations with Roman numerals or different colors, but typically you'll see just a nice plain black dial. The primary key design details are going to be that single lug design where the lug goes into the center of the leather strap and is screwed in on either side, as opposed to fitting between two lugs. I also am a huge fan of the way the case back is designed, which features a glossy black and gold double G logo. But the details don't stop there. Along the side of the case, you have 3 bands, and those are often colored in black, but you do occasionally see them in the green and red signature Gucci color scheme. My favorite example out of this collection of watches is the 2000M with the triple calendar and moon phase complication. And this is the watch that originally inspired this video for me. I think everything about this watch is so unbelievably elegant. Yes, like all the other watches on this list, it is quartz, so there are no mechanical functions here. I find the whole package really pretty, and I think there's a lot of you guys out there who would agree. But the fact that it has all of these different complications, at least aesthetically, is really cool. So let's go over the pros and cons. For me, I would say the cons are: one, there are a lot of fakes on the market. Gucci watches are actually one of the most faked watches in the world. And so if you are looking into these watches, you definitely have to do your research, buy the seller. Remember, if the price is too good to be true, it probably is. If at all possible, try and see the movement, get your hands on one. I don't love throwing quartz in the con category, but I understand for a lot of people out there that is a con. But now let's look at the pros, because to me, they far outweigh the cons. First, you have that vintage appeal, especially with the small gold designs. If you're someone like me who's young and doesn't have a lot of capital to go throw on some vintage Cartier or Piaget, something like this is definitely worth considering. They're also from a brand that is very well known, so even people who aren't watch people will appreciate this watch. The brand has lots of history, it's old, it's interesting. Another pro is the price. They run anywhere from $200 to $1,000 typically, so like I said with the vintage appeal category, if you're looking for something that has this small, elegant gold look, but you don't have the money to put towards something more expensive and higher end, I believe these are a serious consideration. So that's all I have for you guys today. I just wanted to make a quick video and highlight some of these beautiful watches that I've found, and like I said, really do some justice for these pieces, which are well priced, well designed, and interesting. So let me know in the comments, would you buy one of these? Do you agree with my points? Do you think these are good considerations for someone who is looking for a small gold vintage piece? Subscribe to join Watch Candy. It's so awesome having everyone here. Thank you so much for your viewership. It means a ton to me. If anyone has any of these watches or knows someone who owns one, I would love to hear the stories behind them. Big thanks from Watch Candy HQ, and I will see you in the next video.